All right, good morning, brothers and sisters. Here we go. We are in Genesis 25, verses 19 through 26. Now, we know yesterday's portion, the death of Abraham. No, Ishmael's descendants. And the reason behind that, the 12 princes, as opposed to the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. Now we have here, and mind you, again, I'm reading out of the NLT, NIV, and the Scriptures Bible. Here we go. It says here in verse 19, this is the account of the family of Isaac, the son of Abraham. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean. Now remember, these are people from, I think, what did it say, Mesopotamia? Was it yesterday? I should have looked that up. Anyway, it says here that they were Assyrians. Negative. Yeah, Syrians. They were Syrians, basically. Point is, it's good to understand who Bethuel was and Laban. Bethuel was the father of Rebekah, which would be the grandparents on the mom's side of Jacob and Esau. And Laban, who you're going to find out in the future, is the one that takes in Jacob. All right, Laban, the shady guy. You know, when he heard there's a rich guy out there, the servant, when he saw the servant, the rich guy, he said, hey, come kick it over here. You know, he saw opportunity. All right. Now we see that, I'm trying to get these names right. Who am I talking about? Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when they got married. Okay. Now, it shows here, Isaac, verse 21, Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children. The Lord answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. But the two children struggled with each other in the womb. She went to ask the Lord about it. Why is this happening to me? She asked. And the Lord told her, the sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and your older son will serve the younger. Now, here we go. Here's what ministers to me. Again, application portion, not interpretation. What I love here is that it shows, and a bit it's going to say that Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. That's 20 years of Rebekah being barren. That's 2 decades, a lot of, baby making practice. You know, he lived a good life. You know, him and baby mama without, babies, like, that's 20 years, man. Kudos, Isaac. You did it right. You know what I'm saying? But it took 20 years that they had this barren womb. And I love here that Isaac runs to the nearest doctor, and the doctor gives him a prescription for pills. And they do all this in utero stuff and, shots and No, he didn't run to a doctor. He didn't run to go get pills. He didn't get any type of, medical advice or, a specialist that are going to go and, fertilize eggs for you and ink it, all that junk they got today. Isaac knew that it is the Lord who controls the womb. You go back to his father, Abraham with Abimelech and Sarah, his mama. When they went to, let's get this right, Gerar, the king of, Abimelech, he wanted to marry Sarah because Abraham said that's his sister. And you see here that, once the Lord comes to him in a dream, they all freak out. Abimelech's like, dude, you lied to me. How could you? Blah, blah, blah. But he sends him off with a bunch of stuff, money, and it says here that Abraham had prayed for Abimelech and the people because the Lord had shut the womb of all the females there. The Lord shut the womb. Isaac knew that this woman, that Rebekah was barren because the Lord had shut the womb. So what does he do? He didn't just go to God. He pleads with him. All translations say plead. Look up the definition of pleading. He didn't ask. He pleaded with Yahweh, with the Lord. And you know what? This man of prayer went straight to God with the understanding what God can do. It says God answered his prayer. I love it. He pleaded. We wonder why does God allow meth heads to have babies and they're popping out 10 at a time and all these different things and all these, drug dealers having babies, but yet there's women in the church and men who are in ministry and they don't have kids. That's between them and God. God weighs the hearts. I've known some meth heads that have a more loving heart than people in ministry in the church. I've known, I was a meth head. You know, I've done meth. Meth was my life for a good minute. And I've met people passing the pipe who've had more heart than those in ministry. Those who serve outwardly, but inwardly the cup is dirty. The outside of the cup is clean, but the inside is dirty. And some of these meth heads, the outside of the cup is dirty, but the inside is so clean. They're so lost and broken. You see what I'm saying? Instead of praying for each other, they're passing the pipe. If they only knew. Anyway, the point is, God controls the womb. Now we see here in verse 22, no, nice. At the end of 21, no, lie again. In verse 22, when Rebecca felt this twin struggling, she said something was wrong. So she ran to her maidservant. She ran to the nearest, witch doctor lady in town to help her rub stuff on her womb and like do little chants and all. No, she didn't do that either, fool. It says here that she went to the Lord also. In verse 22, but the two children struggled with each other in her womb. She went to ask the Lord about it. She also knew to go to God to ask and inquire. You see, now was this 20 years of her being with Isaac and seeing Isaac go to God constantly? As the man would lead in prayer, guess what? She followed. Now, obviously, Isaac and God had a relationship. There's a 20-year gap between, Isaac marrying her and then, Isaac having kids. There's nothing written in between. 20 years of God knows what. But we see here that the evidence of him praying this is evidence of him praying because even his wife prays. She goes to God. And the beauty in this is that God doesn't go and answer Isaac for her. God answers her on what she's asking. God answers her. The power of praying is amazing. And he said, this is what's going to happen, eh? You have twins. Two are going to come out, and they're going to be rivals with each other from the beginning because they're rivals now. I made them that way for a reason. I made them on purpose for this purpose. He's like, and what's going to happen here is that the oldest is going to serve the youngest. And that's culturally incorrect because the firstborn gets the birthright. He gets everything the father gets. And the other sons, they serve under. So what happens is basically in government terms, what it'll be is if you have a son, your firstborn son will become the president of the family. And the rest will become governors and senators. They still have authority. They still got power, but under certain regions. Meanwhile, the firstborn has a control over all the assets of the father and the family business. You see what I'm saying? So that's unorthodox right there. I think that's the right word, unorthodox. It's a big word, man. You know what? A refill. Anywho, Lord answers her. And I love this because this is a powerhouse couple, I call that. I've always wanted to be that powerhouse couple. I remember seeing couples when I first got saved at 24 and going to church. I remember seeing couples that were young, under 40 years old, on fire and just always going through so much and just so much turmoil. Not turmoil, just there's so many trials and just being tested. And they stood their ground, through divorces and adulteries and drugs. I mean, these marriages were falling apart, but they stood their ground. They stood together and they fought through it. Ugly things, death of children, miscarriages, kids on drugs, kids getting raped. I mean, and they stood together in the Lord. And it's like, wow, how can they get through this? And they, and then even the husband would cheat on the wife and the wife would forgive, or the wife would cheat on the husband. And it was just seeing all these things happen, but they stood together. And then once they hit their 50s, it's like something happened. This peace fell upon them. This wisdom sat within them. And though they're going through stuff in life still, they're filled with the Spirit and they're guiding the young ones just like them who are going through it. And I see this with Isaac and Rebecca as they're going through stuff right now. I mean, they went through some things, forgive me. They're becoming a powerhouse couple. They both know the power of prayer. Now imagine that, brothers and sisters, having a spouse that prays with you throughout everything, stays with you as you make mistakes in life and endures. No matter how ugly that is. They're out there. My point is, it blesses me to see this right here, how they both know the power of prayer and they do it. Let's move on. Verse 24. It's getting dark in here. And when the time came to give birth, Rebecca discovered that she indeed had twins. The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair, like a fur coat. They named him Esau. This dude came out like baby Chewbacca, full of hair, red hair. I can't even do a Chewie voice, you know what I'm saying? I guess that's where the term fur baby came from. Esau, that's the Hebrew word for fur baby is Esau. What I like here in this insert in my New King James, it says up here, the name Esau literally means hairy. Okay. So they named him Esau, baby Chewie, the first fur baby. And then it says, then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel. They named him Jacob. When baby Chewie came out, little Esau came out, as he's coming out, bam, another hand came out and grabbed the heel. That was Jacob. Right here it says the name Jacob in Hebrew is Yakub. Now remember, let me tell you something. In Hebrew, the letter J is pronounced like a Y. You see? This is kind of backwards for Mexicans. Instead of saying Y, they say J. So instead of saying yes, man, we're just. I like the yob. Oh, man. But in Hebrew, it's the other way around. So instead of Jacob, it's Yakub. And it says here, the name Jacob in Hebrew is Yakub, was derived from the root word meaning heel or footprint, hind part. The verb form could mean to follow on the heel or to attack from close behind. To give someone the heel meant to take advantage of that person. So we see that coming out of the womb that Jacob was already being a heel grabber, trying to take advantage of his brothers. Is to give somebody the heels to take advantage of them, to kind of trip them up. You know what I'm saying? And it says here, as the name Yakub was doubly significant for Jacob when he was born, he came out grasping his twin brother Esau by the heel. So his name was called Jacob. As a man, the figurative meaning of Yakub fit Jacob well, as he was known to be quick to take advantage of others. This is why he gets sent to Laban. We'll get to that point. The point is this. These names, they mean something. Baby Chewie / a.k.a. Esau, little red fur baby. And then Jacob the heel grabber, the one who was quick to take advantage of people. So again, as this ministers to me about the power of prayer, who to go to first, that blesses me. The powerhouse couple. Brothers and sisters, I'm rambling on now. It's really 12 minutes. Hey, I'll get back to you more on this tomorrow because a lot more to say on this, but it's already going to be 13 minutes. Peace be with you. May the joy of the Lord be your strength. Remember, she's wisdom of the world. God bless.